Welcome to the Boomer Buzz, the show that focuses on issues of interest to the 60 and over crowd, both here on Long Island and across the country. Listen as experts keep you informed about the latest health solutions, financial options, and lifestyle choices, both for senior citizens and their families. Now, here are the hosts of the Boomer Buzz, Dr. Lamarr Stanford and Patricia Stanford, corporate wellness consultant, on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Welcome to the Boomer Buzz, where each week we'll give you the buzz on how to stay healthy, wealthy, and wise after the age of 60.
Today we're speaking with Josh Jalinsky, who is widely known in this part of the country as the Financial Quarterback. He hosts a weekly radio show on Saturdays and Sundays on WOR in New York. Josh has every type of financial certification you can imagine, so he's definitely a credible authority on financial planning for us baby boomers. Josh also recently published a book called The Retirement Reality Check, and we'll be getting into that. Besides, I just want to make a little side here. Besides being a great financial advisor, Josh is a true gentleman with a big heart. When I had open heart surgery a couple of months ago, we had to postpone Josh's interview on this program. He so understood. I had to apologize to him about my health issues, and he was so nice. He even asked me if he could offer a prayer on my behalf as I went into the hospital. While I was in the hospital, his company wanted to send me flowers. It just was very gratifying. Thank you, Josh. What am I telling you? Anyway.
Okay, welcome to the show, Josh. It's an honor to have such a well-known expert on financial planning on our show and a radio star in our area. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. First of all, let's start with when I started reading your book called The Retirement Reality Checklist, I was struck by the sobering words of John Malden. He wrote your foreword, of course, as you recognize. He has a lot of financial credibility, so I read his words rather slowly and kind of deliberately. He is concerned with some of the retirement strategies that have failed in the past, such as the portfolio pie, which suggests having 60% of your savings in stocks and 40% in bonds. Josh, can you give us your advice on this age-old strategy, this 60-40 type strategy?
Sure. Well, in the book, The Retirement Reality Check, which is available right now on Amazon, #1 new release in the category of retirement planning the last 2 to 3 weekends, thanks to our listeners in Nassau and the surrounding area. A lot of Long Island people buying the book, and I'm certainly grateful for that. But I'm using this phrase in the book called the pie is a lie. And essentially, when we're talking about the pie is a lie, we are not denigrating the topic of diversification. We're just looking at, well, what happened from 2000 to 2002 and the last downturn from 2008, and even this past week, both stocks went down, and in many cases, bonds went down. And the old 60-40 portfolio came out of the University of Chicago. And in the 60s, a fellow named Harry Markowitz came up with something called the efficient frontier. And the efficient theory basically says that no one can predict the future, which is true. No one can predict the market. So the only thing you can do to have, an efficient portfolio is to diversify across stocks and bonds. And what we've seen is the new retiree, the new boomer, has tried that old advice of 60-40 portfolio, and it's rather tired. They're not getting any enjoyment from their wealth. They're scared because the bonds are earning 0 to 3% the last 5 years. So in many cases, even with the market doing quite well the last 10 years, the last 5 years, many of the bond funds that comprise that 60-40 portfolio have done absolutely nothing or very little at that. And then when you take into account fees that you're paying an advisor, you're lucky to break even on 40% of your portfolio, and we think there's a better way.
Now, John suggested also that in the middle of the next decade, sometime from 2020 to 2030, there's going to be this great reset. And it sounds like it might be 2008 all over again. Now, how do baby boomers protect themselves against this type of a financial tsunami or meltdown?
Well, in the book, we talk about consider diversifying trading strategies, not just asset classes. So asset classes are stocks and bonds. Trading strategies might be you have 40% then that's conservative, but within that conservative pie, you might have municipal bonds, you might have annuities, you might have cash value insurance, you may have things that are non-correlated to the market. That's a big buzzword, non-correlated. All that means is you want some things that do not go down when the market goes down. So it's not that we're against having 60% in the market or 50% in the market and 50% conservative. It's just that within that conservative component, we want to see things that are non-correlated. For example, if you had a treasury, generally speaking, in 08, it didn't lose much money. If you had a fixed annuity, it didn't lose much money. And if you had cash value within a life insurance contract, it did not lose money in the 2008 downturn. And even though we went through such great financial upheaval, as long as you had a well-run insurer or you bought the proper treasuries, you would have been pretty conservative and would not have lost much of your principal on the 40%. Now, the 60% that's in the stocks, yes, you would have lost it in 08. You'll lose it in the next great reset. But we're talking about for that 40 or 50% that you want conservative, pick things that will give you an income that's almost like a pension, that regardless of how the market performs, you can sleep well at night.
Excellent. Now, Maulding also suggested that with this national debt being up around $22 trillion, that any government that gets in is going to have to up the tax rate to maintain or to reduce that. And these new taxes, are they going to kill us also?
Well, I'm very concerned about rising tax rates in the future. If you look at, in the last few weeks, we've had presidential debates, and not a single one of those candidates proposed lowering taxes, which is what I think we need to have a more burgeoning economy and to keep the market high. But they're all calling for rising taxes, which is the Laffer curve. Art Laffer, the guy who's orchestrating the Reagan economy, suggested that if you hit taxes above a certain rate, your actual receipts go down. And the Trump tax code, although it was a start, we didn't really see taxes cut as much as I think they should have been. But generally, with the rising amount of debt, with the rising tide of people of various political persuasions calling for greater government intervention, greater socialistic policies, I'm concerned that we're going to be deferring in IRAs and deferred vehicles when taxes will be rising, not lowering. So I talk on my radio show a lot about what we call a rare political window of opportunity, where we have 6 years left of the Trump tax code, and that's if he gets reelected, and that's if if we have a Democratic president and a Democratic Congress and Senate, we most likely will see the Trump tax code overturned or rewritten, and you could see marginal tax rates go up significantly because of the national debt, but not only just the national debt, also the promises we've made already, meaning Medicare, prescription drug plans, as well as Social Security. And then if we add in government health care, if we add in free college, taxes could certainly have to rise to be 50% or more just to pay for this. And that's not counting state income taxes, local property taxes. I'm just talking about federal marginal rates. The highest federal rate now is 37%. Most of the candidates want to take it to 39.6, and many are saying 50, 55 for the higher earning Americans. And as the higher goes, what they're going to realize is those people leave the country, they shelter their income in tax-sheltered vehicles, so they're not going to get the receipts, the tax receipts they plan on, so then they're going to inevitably have to rise taxes on the middle class and sort of the working people of America.
You're listening to the Boomer Buzz on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, and our guest today is Josh Jalinsky, widely known in this part of the country as the financial quarterback. I'm Patricia Stanford, along with my husband, Dr. Lamarr Stanford.
Josh, if we can just get back to the future, with all these gray clouds on the horizon there with Social Security and such, how do you, like a lot of people say Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme going, and yet so many people rely on it. For retirees needing to rely on Social Security, is this going to be there in the future, in the long run, or should we really be skeptical about that?
Well, I don't necessarily think Social Security is in jeopardy, largely because the boomers, we're on the Boomer Buzz, are the largest voting bloc in history. And so many seniors, retirees, pre-retirees are going to be dependent on Social Security that I don't see them cutting it. I do see tax rates going up dramatically and government benefits needing to be cut. I'm seeing it even in my home state of New Jersey. A lot of people will retire with a nice pension from the state, then they move to a state where they pay no taxes, like Florida, and we're seeing increasing deficits run on a statewide level. So it will only be a matter of time. I think public pensioners could have their pensions cut. I don't see Social Security being a cut. I think they'll tax it more. I think they will tax those of you listening who have done a good job. You were a good little boy and girl in school. You did what you were supposed to. You saved 10 to 20% of your income. And you know what? You're deemed rich. So we're going to have to tax, like Pete Buttigieg is calling for an increase in the earnings cap on Social Security to the first $250,000 of income. Well, what that means then, let's say you're a small business owner like me, and let's say you are fortunate enough to make $200,000 or $250,000 as a small business owner. So you are the backbone of the American economy. Under Pete Buttigieg's proposal, you would pay about 15 cents of every dollar up to $250,000. So think about that. That's not counting the tax rate, which is 24% on the Trump code. You add another 15. That's essentially a 39% tax rate without ever raising taxes. They're just saying, oh, we're going to raise the earnings cap. And so there's going to be a lot of these types of things where they are going to stick it to the rich and not really the rich. If you're in Long Island, you're making $200,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $150,000 a year, you're in many cases just getting by. And if you're making $30,000, $40,000 a year, you're struggling deep. So that's why a lot of people are moving south. They're fleeing high tax states like New York, New Jersey. I love New York, New Jersey area. That's where I built my company. I love the people here. When I go all over the country speaking and things like that, I love to come back home. But the point is, you have all these veiled tax increases coming, and I'm worried about that. But not really the cutting of Social Security. I think they're just going to tax us more to pay for those on it.
Good.
You are listening to the Boomer Buzz. I'm Patricia Stanford, along with my husband, Dr. Lamarr Stanford, and our guest today is Josh Jalinsky, widely known in this area as the financial quarterback. You're listening to the Boomer Buzz on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
You don't see as well as you used to, and it's getting worse. You're not sure where to turn for support. Wondering what's next? Vision loss doesn't have to hold you back from living the life you want. The National Federation of the Blind can help, whether you're blind or experiencing vision loss. Visit nfb.org to connect with people in your community and get support. The National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
Welcome back to the Boomer Buzz on the voice of NASA Community College 90.3 WHPC. I'm Dr. Lamarr Stanford along with my wife Patricia. Our guest today is Josh Jalinsky, who is widely known in this part of the country as the financial quarterback. He hosts a weekly radio show Saturdays and Sundays on WR here in New York. Josh has every type of financial certification you can imagine, so he's definitely a credible authority on financial planning for us baby boomers.
So I wanted to ask you, Josh, I know that you've done the radio show, you told us, about 10 years. So I would imagine that a lot of your callers are people that are over 60. What are the things that they're most concerned with? What keeps them up at night financially?
I think there are three main things. Taxes, which all you have to do is go to the usdebtclock.org. You see that with the rising amount of government debt, with promises we've made already, and something to note, forget new benefits, forget health care for all, forget Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan, which is now going mainstream, forgetting free college for everyone. If we added up all of the unfunded liabilities to Social Security and Medicare, the promises we've made to boomers and seniors, that would total up to $125 trillion, which is really just unfathomable.
Goodness. Yeah.
Agreed,
So that's probably concern number one, that if we have all these promises and then now these politicians want to make new promises that we will be unable to keep. So to me, it's like they're trying to bankrupt the system or something. So higher taxes is concern number one. Number two, the market. I mean, we see that with what's going on with the UN in China. People are very concerned about, I got an email today from somebody, what do I do with my portfolio in China? I don't think the market's going to do well between now and 2020 because people want Trump out, so China might tank the economy. I really wouldn't worry too much about that. I think that's a lot of media noise and buzz. I actually think Mnuchin and Trump and the different people that he has trying to get the China deal, they know what they're doing. So I really think he's trying to break China so that they come to the table before the election. And it looks like it's working. The thing is, will it throw us into a recession? So I think recession fears are probably number two. And then how do I live? How do I take care of my family? How do I enjoy my money and not have to worry about this stuff, not have to look at CNBC or Fox Business every week, or every day? People they just want to enjoy their money. So I think number one, taxes. Number two, risk management. And number three, just enjoying your money. So I think those are the big three concerns.
And what is the advice that you give them in general with these risks on the horizon? How do you tell them to navigate these complex issues? Do you need to study and watch these shows? Should you get a financial advisor?
I don't think you need to study. I think it hurts people mostly because a lot of these things, and I've been on the shows, Fox Business, CNBC a lot, various shows that they have on there, and they prey upon people's fears. So what they'll do is, I was on Bloomberg a couple weeks ago, and they said, well, do you think we're headed for a recession? Almost like a layup, almost like they want me to stoke recession fears. So if I'm in a good mood, I talk about no, there's nothing to worry about. If I'm in a bad mood, as I'm driving into traffic in New York, going into the interview, I might say I'm worried about the economy. But the thing is, when you
So did we get you on a good day or a bad day today?
I think I'm more positive about the economy today.
Good.
But my point is, your financial plan should not be based on my whims. It should not be based on your whims or on the whims of the CNBC anchor or the Fox Business anchor. It should be based on prudent financial strategies. So this is what I generally tell people. If you do not plan on holding this stock or this ETF for 10 years, don't own it for 10 minutes. That's sort of like a Warren Buffett quote. And I like that quote. And here's what I mean. Let's say you have a portfolio, I don't know, let's say it's $300,000. And you go, well, I can't stand to lose $150,000 because I want that there no matter what. Then that money should be in more conservative things. Treasuries, fixed annuities, income type annuities, which are no fee or low fee. You could also look at cash value life insurance. So basically treasuries, fixed annuities, not variables, and some type of insurance. It has to be the right type, not the type of the rising cost of insurance. But you should put whatever you can't afford to lose in stuff like that. And for everybody, it's a different number. It's whatever number helps you sleep at night. It could be if you have $300,000. It could be the person says, I'm okay with putting $100,000 in the market, but $200,000 I want secure. So it really is a different number for every person. But what I like to do is lead with your guaranteed income streams. Meaning if you need $8,000 a month to live, right? If you need that to have the life you want, then you should put, your pension, Social Security, income streams from your investments in conservative stuff should equal the $8,000, and then you risk the difference. So really, we look at pensionizing people's nest eggs. And sure, you could make more in the market, but you want to be able to sleep well at night. You don't want to be like these people who send me emails at 2 a.m. Oh, what should I do with my portfolio? Well, I told the guy 8 months ago, he should have done more into something that was more protected. And they often don't listen because they're listening to the financial talking heads. So we have a whole part in the book where we expose some of these talking heads and sort of the financial mistruths they tell. And a lot of people allow somebody, just because they're on radio or TV, to influence their portfolio and to either get them more aggressive than they really are comfortable with or more conservative. And the truth is, get a financial plan, a holistic financial plan, and put the plan before the products.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Can I just interrupt you for a minute,
Sure.
Josh? We're listening to the Boomer Buzz on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. And our guest today is Josh Jalinsky, who is widely known as the financial quarterback. Can we just maybe pursue that idea about financial planning? Can a person do this himself, or you'd strongly recommend that they get a reputable financial planner, wouldn't you?
Sure. I think even me, I have people that I go to for coaching. It's sort of like in medicine, doctors do not perform surgery on people they're close to. So I would generally recommend, one, you use us, the financial quarterback. We'd love to help you. And in our company, we do fee-based fiduciary services through my company, Wealth Quarterback. Anybody, be welcome to call us at 888-988-JOSH. But, get somebody who is a planner.
Well, you mentioned
a written plan.
Yeah, Josh,
Definitely.
You mentioned fiduciary. Fiduciary. Now, can you just explain that to our audience? That's a pretty important word, isn't it?
Well, fiduciary is a big buzzword. And essentially it means that your advisor has a license to practice, and they have to act according to your best interest. So generally speaking, someone with a 66 license can be a fiduciary. I have that one. Or somebody who has a part of what's called an RIA, a registered investment advisor. We have an RIA called the Wealth Quarterback. I'm what's called an IAR of my RIA. So it's a lot of alphabet soups. But a fiduciary is supposed to act in your best interest. My warning with that is we're going to come to a time a year or two out, and you see this more and more, where everybody's a fiduciary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that really is meaning something now it shouldn't mean, which is just they do fee-for-service financial planning. So instead of getting a commission, they get a fee. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like that method. That's how we handle our RIA. But just because someone is fee-based does not mean they're necessarily acting in your best interest. We often see people who are fiduciaries say things like, I would only invest in exchange-traded funds or stocks or index funds. And I like all of those things. But I define fiduciary as someone who's not going to only educate you on stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, but also somebody who's going to educate you on taxes. Somebody who's going to educate you on income products. Somebody's going to educate you on insurance products. And a lot of the fiduciaries out there now, they denigrate those products when for many clients and potential clients and listeners, if you want conservative products, to me, I'd rather have, this is how I define best interest, working for the best interest of my clients, which is what fiduciary is supposed to mean. If you could get 3% in a fixed product and pay no fee, right? Isn't that in the best interest of the client than paying 1% or 1.5% for a product that gets 3%? Just because it doesn't pay a commission still doesn't mean it's in the best interest of the client, because that person's making 1.5% instead of 3%. Does that make sense?
It certainly does. In fact, can you just explain the fee structure for a financial planner?
So financial planners get paid in two ways. One, generally fees or commissions. Fiduciaries generally get paid on a fee-for-service model. So if you have $100,000 and the advisor charges 1.5%, you're paying $1,500 a year for advice. Now, you should pay your advisor for advice. Too many times people will say, I don't know how my guy get paid, or my financial advisor got paid. And I would tell them, well, that's stupid. Why aren't you understanding their compensation model? It's critical for you to protect yourself.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We want to thank our guest, Josh Jalinsky, author of The Retirement Reality Check. And we've certainly gotten a reality check today. He hosts a weekly radio phone-in show on Saturdays and Sundays on WOR in New York. This has been so interesting and informative. We hope to get you back sometime to discuss other issues with our audience.
Thank you. It was great joining you, and I really respect both of you for your work. You're wonderful people. And folks, go to Amazon right now, buy Retirement Reality Check.
I agree with that.
We agree with that one.
I'm Patricia Stanford, along with my husband, Dr. Lamarr Stanford, and you've been listening to the Boomer Buzz on 90.3 WHPC. The show is available as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker.com. If you have comments, email them to us anytime at WHPC@ncc.edu. Thank you for listening to the Boomer Buzz here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.